What is up, guys? Welcome to the ThinkComputers Weekly Tech Podcast. This is episode 483. And as you can see, I'm by myself. And that's because there's a possible tornado where Ryan lives in Wichita. So we hope that he's okay and that he makes it through all of that. He just called me really quickly to let me know. So, like I said, hopefully things are okay with him over there. This week's podcast is brought to you by our friends over at MSI, and we have a quick video to show you showing off one of their latest liquid CPU coolers. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by MSI's MPG Core Liquid P13 liquid CPU coolers. These make use of a streamlined cable design where all the cables route into the sleeve tubing for a cleaner look. With the MSI Center software, you can easily configure the 2.1-inch circular LCD display, and there's so many different options to choose from. There's a single universal mounting bracket, so no more swapping out brackets, and there's even a cover to keep the whole thing looking clean. To learn more, check out thinkcomputers.org/P13. Alrighty, so we thank MSI for sponsoring this week's episode, and we have quite a lot to talk about. I took a look at a really cool, unique sort of tech accessory that can be really, really useful from Patriot. We, of course, have lots of news on what's going on with NVIDIA. They're bringing back the 3060, a new version of a 5050, and some other things going on with NVIDIA. Also, we are going to talk about the new MacBook Neo. So more affordable MacBook if you're on the Mac side, or if your laptop's a Mac, you might be able to get, one for a lot cheaper. We have some new PC cases. One that was announced today that I think is super cool, and some pretty interesting gaming news. Valve is actually getting sued by the state of New York. So that is pretty interesting there as well. Now, if you guys did want to follow along, we do have our full show notes page, which is going to be, I guess we'll make it like, since Ryan's not here, we'll make it like this. Our full show notes page. Let's see if we can remove this, add this. There we go. Our full show notes page right here that has everything that we are going to be talking about this week, all the links to everything. So if you do see something that we're talking about and you do want to reference it later, it is all going to be right here. Now, I took a look at the Patriot MD330, and that is a pretty interesting little device. I think that if you actually have a use case for this, it can be incredibly helpful, especially if you're like traveling or something like that, or you need to present. This is a really, really cool device. So this essentially is a little dongle that gives you HDMI, built-in storage, and a powered USB port so you can still charge your device. So this really comes in handy, I would say, when it actually comes to like a mobile device like your phone, but you of course can use it as, with your laptop as well. And I show those examples in the review. This thing is really tiny. As far as the internal storage goes, you can actually get it from 128 gigabytes all the way up to 1 terabyte. So lots of storage there, which is really cool. And this thing is like really, really small, easily fits in your pocket, can easily be thrown in a bag, super easy to travel with. It's only 21 grams, so really, really light there as well. And it's a super simple device. You can see right here, it kind of looks like, I wish I had it here, but I actually have it in my bag, so I was using it. But it almost looks like this, which is a card reader. And this is actually bigger than the actual Patriot one. And you can see we have a Type-C connection that's going to go right into your device. And then on the opposite side, you just have that HDMI, which is a full-size HDMI. And then you have a USB in port. And that's so you can keep your device charged, because especially our mobile devices like our phones, we don't have another port. So if we plug something into the Type-C, we can't charge it. This allows for that pass-through charging. Same thing with like a lot of thin and light tablets, or even, certain laptops might only have one Type-C. So this allows you to use that Type-C, make use of it, but still power on your device. And you can do up to 100 watts through that. So fast charging for your phone, but also full charging for something like a laptop. John in the chat said, alone stream today. Yeah, Ryan, there is a tornado warning in his area. He's having really bad storms, so we hope he's okay. He said he would try and pop in if he can, but we would rather him be safe with his kids and his family as opposed to doing the podcast. So if he jumps in, he'll be in. But if not, like I said, we hope he is okay. But moving on to this, like I said, incredibly simple device. And talking about it being simple, one of the things I really like about this is a lot of dongles, especially when it comes to using them on something like an iPhone, require certain apps to work and things like that. This essentially is just plug and play. So all you have to do is plug it in. So when you go ahead and plug it in, here it is connected to my iPhone. I have Fortnite up here. I have power going into my phone, so I'm still, powering my iPhone. And then we have full-size HDMI going out to a monitor, and you can kind of see what this looks like. So this is like the ideal circumstance for this device. If you're a gamer and you want to play games, that you would normally play on your phone, with, say we had a controller, like a Bluetooth controller, but you want to play on a larger screen, this allows you to do that. And again, especially when it comes to monitors, a lot of the monitors don't have like a smaller DisplayPort connection, like a mini that might work with an adapter cable. This gives you full-size HDMI out, so you can HDMI out to a larger screen. This also makes it really good if you're like traveling and the TV that's in the hotel room only has that full-size HDMI. So this just allows you to easily connect that, which I think is really great. So it just outputs up to 4K 60 hertz, or 4K 60, I believe, or 4K 30, but it outputs up to 4K. So easily able to display a game, say, from your mobile device. I also went and tested it on my laptop. So here it is plugged into my laptop. As you can see, again, power into this, and this does pull 100 watts on my laptop. So easily just boom, power right in there, and then HDMI out. So now we can, you can either extend your desktop or have a secondary desktop. Really easy to go ahead and do that. And again, no drivers are needed, no installation, no software. It just works. And I think it's really, really simple. Now, the internal storage, we had the 512 gigabyte version. This is not a portable SSD, so you're not going to get portable SSD storage speeds here. So you can see the speeds here, about 100 megabytes a second. It is embedded storage, but it still gives you that extra storage, which I think is good, especially, again, more on the mobile device side, but it does give you that extra storage. So it's really easy to use this. And again, here's the ideal setup with a mobile device. Really easy, just like I said, to go ahead and set this up. We have, what is your name? Elbash Watts in the chat. Good to see you here as well. If you do have a question or anything, just let us know. And I really like this device. I think it's super simple. That's the biggest thing when it comes to any of these dongles or devices, is just works, right? You just plug it in and it just simply works. And that's what this does right here. So, and it's outputs up to 4K 60. So that's really nice. It is, for the 512 gig version that I reviewed, it is $49.99. And if you don't need the internal storage, you can buy dongles they're probably larger, but they will give you that full-size HDMI output for cheaper. So it just depends on if you really, need that extra storage. I would say if you don't need the storage, there are dongles that are cheaper, but if you do need the storage, this is a small device that just works, and it's really, really easy. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. Like I said, there are cheaper options out there. The built-in storage is not dedicated like portable SSD storage, which is a little bit disappointing. And then it will likely block other ports on your laptop. So if you saw in the previous page, when I have it connected to the laptop, like it's horizontal like this. So it will block other ports that are around your Type-C. So just definitely keep that in mind. But I think it's a cool little device. I think it works quite well. And like I said, I like no apps, no software needed. It just works right off the bat. And I think that's definitely a good thing. So that is our review for the week. And then we'll move on here to Case Mod Friday. And that's, of course, where we feature a build or mod that's been completed in the community. And this week we have Blue Horse Studios, and we have their Resident Evil Requiem mod. And this is a really, really cool mod. I love Blue Horse Studios, and they're really like, they really get the theme of certain builds. And this isn't like a crazy in-depth build. As you can see, it uses an AIO, but their custom vinyl work to really hit that Resident Evil theme, I think, is really cool. And it just looks like, look at the back here with that custom vinyl. It just looks awesome. Reminds me a lot of an more of an like an old school mod. And I think it looks really, really cool. You can see the AIO that's being used here, and it's kind of hard to see, but there's actually some vinyl work right here on the motherboard as well. So really like that. I just think it looks good. And they actually did the vinyl on a monitor too. So I think that's really cool. I don't know if any of you guys have played the new Resident Evil. I have not. I played Resident Evil so long ago. I never got into the newer games, but apparently this sold really well. So if any of you guys are playing it, definitely let me know. But yeah, I just, like I said, I really like this mod. It's kind of, like I said, reminds me of more of an old school mod, but I love these theme mods after games or movies. And I think they killed it, especially with all of the vinyl work. And again, you can see some of that vinyl work right here on the motherboard itself, which again looks really, really cool. So shout out to Blue Horse Studios for this one. And if you ever wanted to like look at case mods or check out all the case mods we have on the site, if you go here to articles and then go to Case Mod Friday, and then you can essentially just like scroll for forever, because we've been featuring mods and builds for years, and you can just scroll, like I said, essentially forever to check out all of these crazy mods and builds. Also, we have a new contest. So our friends over at ASRock have hooked us up with their Phantom Gaming B860 Lightning Wi-Fi motherboard. Super easy to enter this one. If you're looking for the contest page on the website, all you have to do is go to contests right here, click on that. And then this one right here, win a ASRock Phantom Gaming. And then we do all of our contests through Gleam. So you have to subscribe to our email newsletter. And then once you do that, there's 20 more ways to enter once you go through once you subscribe to the email newsletter. It's like subscribing to our YouTube and other things like that. Gives you entries to, enter this, and so you guys can go ahead and win. This one is US only, so keep that in mind. Our next group of contests will be worldwide, so definitely stay tuned for those. But big shout out to ASRock for hooking us up with this and giving you guys an awesome prize. There's 15 days left in this, so we'll talk about it next week on the podcast as well. But like I said, get your entries in. And we may add some extra ways to get entries. So always check back to see if we add some more things. But really easy to get your entry in for this one. Of course, we always want to give back to you guys. So, and like I said, we have some more contests coming up this month and then some more next month. So definitely stay tuned for those as well. And we'll move on to news. And I feel like we're going very quickly because Ryan is not here. So we're going to talk about the RTX 3060 is coming back. So obviously with the RAM shortage and all of the other shortages that are kind of going on right now because of the demand for AI, getting graphics cards and things like that is kind of getting harder these days. If you looked at prices, they've gone up. It looks like NVIDIA is going to start producing the RTX 3060 again. And this just makes sense. It's a very affordable graphics card, and the memory that's on it is more widely available. And to get graphics cards out at a decent price, this kind of makes sense for them to do. So it just seems like this is kind of where we're at as opposed to getting, like refreshes and things like that. We're going to bring back older cards that we've had for a long time. And I think that's kind of where we're at with the memory shortage. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, but at the same time, kind of sucks that this is where we're at, as you know, when it comes to graphics cards these days. But I guess again, this is NVIDIA's way of trying to bring out a card that obviously will work at a price that's not crazy because of the, you know, memory shortages that are going on right now. So that's kind of where it's at. And it looks like this actually is happening. We had another story talking about that NVIDIA is going to use, I believe, Samsung or TSMC, I forget, Samsung or TSMC to produce these and get these out to you guys. So like I said, if you can't find an affordable graphics card sort of in this 3060 performance bracket, these should be coming out again soon, and you should see them, which, like I said, is not necessarily a horrible thing. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's kind of sucks. Also, an RTX 5050 as a 9 gig variant. So NVIDIA is going to use the 3 gig dies for the GDDR7. So a new variant of a 5050 will be coming out that's going to be 9 gigs instead of 8 gigs. So it's like, oh, look here, you get an extra gigabyte and it's GDDR7. That's kind of what's going on with this. It just makes sense because, again, they have the newer 3 gig dies on there for the VRAM. Again, this is where we're at because, yeah, in this variant, we'll also utilize a narrower 96-bit bus to get that higher bandwidth due to faster GDDR7. Yeah, we're not getting new cards. We're getting kind of rehashes of older cards, and it's kind of where we're at because, again, a lot of people are kind of looking in this price range, and with the cost of memory, this just makes sense for NVIDIA to do. So no word yet on what the cost of this variant will be, and as prices continually go up, we'll kind of see what's going on with that. Also, NVIDIA now has 94% of the AIB CPU market. And this kind of makes sense. I mean, NVIDIA for the longest time has had such a stranglehold on the graphics card market. And the latest reports show that that they now have 94% of the AIB CPU GPU markets. AMD dips down to 5%. They were at 7%. And if you look at Q4 2024, AMD was actually at 15%. Then they went to 7, then they went to 5. That's kind of interesting because I feel like there's still like a lot of AMD fanboys out there, and I feel like there's like a lot of my friends have gone the AMD route when it went to graphics cards, especially with the popularity of like Ryzen CPUs. A lot of people are like, I'm doing an all AMD build. So, you know, they get their X3D processor and then they get, you know, an AMD graphics card. But again, NVIDIA has that high-end market. There's no competition in the super high-end market, 5090, 5080. You know, there's no competition there from AMD, so they captured that. And again, AMD only went after like one sort of price point when it came to their latest graphics cards. But it is kind of interesting to see, you know, and then Intel is at that 1%, which is kind of expected based on their offerings. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this shakes up over the next couple of years, especially again with the RAM shortage going on and everything else. But it is kind of, like I said, I'm kind of surprised to see NVIDIA or AMD go from 15% in Q4 24 to 5% in Q4 25. So in a year, they went from 15% to 5% of the market. And it looks like Brian has survived.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah, we're good. Thankfully,
Okay.
you know, things went south of us, but there was rotation and like just like a couple miles south of us,
That's
which is
crazy.
like when you're like, or it was a little southwest of us and like headed our direction. So I got to get the kids and the pets and the wife. And
yeah,
just,
of course.
You know, you got to do all this prep
you
work.
Called
and
me,
I'm like,
you called
like
me, and I could barely. So Ryan called me like right before the podcast starts, and I'm like, oh, is he like telling And then he kind of sounded a little frantic on the phone. I'm like, dude, don't. I was like, be safe. Don't even worry about the podcast, dude. Just go. Like,
Yeah.
So you did say John in the
I saw that. Thank you.
yeah. So he was sending you prayers and making sure you're okay. So we're glad you're okay.
Yeah, no, everything's good. We're good.
Yeah, well, that's good.
What are we talking about?
Well, first, I was going to say that's one thing I don't miss about
any severe weather, if any.
Yeah, because I mean, like the storms. I always liked watching kind of the storms roll in. We never really had. There had been at times like tornadoes around Pittsburgh area, but not like not like a lot. Like are you kind of in that sort of tornado alley?
Yeah, we're
because you guys are like
very
you guys are very flat.
We're at the top.
Right?
Oh
yeah. You guys are super flat, so it's yeah.
Yeah, we're on the northern kind of part of Tornado Alley,
okay,
but still very much in it. So,
well, like I said, we're glad you're okay, and we're glad that you could make it to the podcast. I was just talking to myself, so it felt a little weird. I felt like I tuned into my good friend Winston, FunkyKit.com, his podcast, and he does it by himself, and so yeah, I felt like
that's a whole another set of skills to do it solo.
Yeah, I feel like I was going really fast because we were like 20 minutes in and I'm like already in the news, like But anyways, what we were talking about is NVIDIA's dominance in the AIB market. So in Q4 2024, you can look at the graph here, and NVIDIA had 84% of the AIB market when it comes to graphics cards, and AMD had 15%, which I feel is quite good. Yeah. And then a year later, in Q4 25, NVIDIA soared to 94%, and AMD went down to 5%.
Jeez.
And I was talking about how, the latest AMD graphics cards, they went for that one specific price point. They didn't compete at the high end. I do feel that AMD has come quite a long way with driver updates and giving, they have the same type of technologies now as far as multi-frame generation and things like that. And, I still feel that like NVIDIA is the top dog when it comes to that stuff. Sure. But at the same time, and I'm kind of surprised, I was talking about too, is like, I know a lot of people that have bought AMD graphics cards lately.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was saying that like a lot of people were like, I'm doing an all AMD build because most people who are built, who in the past like year to 2 years, who were building gaming PCs, they were like, I'm getting my X3D processor, so then I'm going to get like an AMD graphics card. And like, it's not like they work, it's not like it works better together per se compared to NVIDIA, but like, I think for a lot of people that's like their rationale. It's like, oh, it's just going to work better. It's all AMD. Sure. So it's kind of, losing that 10% market share in a year is kind of crazy.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like,
well, you say 10%, but they lost 2/3 of their share, because going from 15 to 5, they've only got a third of what they had.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. So yeah, it's
and it's not like those cards are bad. Like the current generation of those cards aren't bad. Like you said, though, they kind of targeted a certain slice of that pie, and so you just don't have as much.
And I do feel that like when people are building a new PC, that's like their big investment, right? So well, I can't talk about now because of the RAM prices, but like people are like, oh, I'm gonna spend $3,000, I'm gonna spend $4,000, and like they want the best graphics card, and AMD is not competing at 5080. 5090 level, so that could be where that all that market share went. But yeah, that's kind of, like I said, kind of staggering. We'll see how this changes over the next year. I think it'll probably remain the same. Like I said, there's a ton of AMD fanboys out there, and also I don't feel like the AMD cards are bad. Like they're not bad. No. So we'll see how that shakes up over the next year. This is a story that I put in here for you, so I'm glad you jumped in right here. So Blizzard, the new World of Warcraft Midnight revealed. Is that what it's called?
What's that?
Or World of Warcraft Midnight. That's the new expansion.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So MSI has teamed up with Blizzard, of course, who makes World of Warcraft, for some custom 5070s, which again, I guess that makes sense because that's like the affordable performance GPU. So we have 2 cards here.
And WoW wasn't like crazy, like performance demanding by any means.
Yeah, and it seems like MSI is getting into this sort of custom thing. Today they have another custom GPU and some keyboard and mouse for some anime that I saw. We didn't do a story on it, but I saw it this morning. So I like this stuff. Of course, we know like Height is really big on their kind of integrations with games and anime and stuff. So it's good to see like if MSI gets into this more, maybe we'll see more of these. For World of Warcraft, which again is not like it's not as popular as it was, but it's still a pretty big franchise. So we have the darker card
for the Void,
and then we have the lighter card. We could take a look at these, and again, it's like the same. I'm gonna be like, it's the same design as far as.
The reason it is though is because like Midnight, because it makes sense from the game perspective, right?
Oh no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the design of the card. It's just an MSI card with different colors.
Just different color. I got you.
And like a custom backplate. Like I'm that person when I see a custom card, I'm like, I want custom design. Custom. But again, you can't do that because they have to like retool all the machines to make all these things, and it just doesn't make sense financially. But yeah, I think these are cool. I think that if, you were super big into WoW,
I'd like to see like dueling systems with these, right?
Funny enough,
Void build and a light build.
Funny enough, who did that? Hall of Tech and Tech Tesseract, they both did.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they did. At least I saw it really quick. I scrolled through, you know how you're scrolling through social media.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that they did that. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure they did. So if you want to see it, they did dueling systems where one was one and one was the other. So pretty cool. But yeah, pretty cool cards. Like I said, I'm like a fan of any kind of custom card, And again, if you're a fan of World of Warcraft, these could be something that you might want to pick up. I assume there's a slight premium on these. It doesn't say.
There can't be too much because it's like you said, it's just a refresh or reskinning of the existing card.
Reskinning. That's what I like to call. Yeah, that's a good name for it. Is reskinning. Yeah, reskinning. But yeah, check this out if you are interested. Now, I was talking about this at the beginning of the podcast where Ryan missed, is that Apple did announce a more affordable MacBook. So I figured we should talk about it. We did do a story on it. The entry for a MacBook of any type was always, unless you were buying used or something like that. But if you were buying new from Apple, $1,000 doesn't matter, $1,000, right? And with again, and it's so hard to compete because like on the super low end, you had Chromebooks, which are like a couple $100s. And then you can always find like that sort of entry level laptop around $399, something like that from so many other brands. So you would think that like Apple's losing that market. Do they want that market? I don't know, but they were losing that sort of, $500 to $800 kind of market, right? Because again, their entry was always $1,000. And you might say that like Steve Jobs is like rolling over in his grave because he wanted, wanted a soup, he wanted, this is the premium. So you're going to pay the premium. Doesn't matter. Right. And we've always said that because if you look at like specs of like a MacBook, you're like, wait a minute.
Why is this?
Why is it so expensive? And especially if you look at like the Mac Pro, the trash can and like, but in any case, so this is the new Neo, has 4 different colorways, which I'm actually a fan of. And again, this makes it more appealing for like teens and kids and stuff like that. $600. So that's good. It uses an iPhone chip, which again, I think makes sense here. iPhone's incredibly powerful. It uses their A18 Pro. And again, if you're using this as a word processor, as a browser, you can still do other. I mean, I've edited video on my iPhone. You know what I mean? Like you can do all of that with that A18 metal body, which again it's good. So it's not like cheap
Premium.
plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe 8 gigs in that $699 or did I say $599 price? 8 gigs of memory. So I still think it's a good price. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, it runs Mac OS too, right?
Yeah.
256 gigs of storage. Like, I don't know that I see any issues with this. What's the screen? 1080p maybe? Do we know?
Let me see. I don't remember.
Because yeah, I mean, I think this is a great entry level
tech specs
system, you know, like.
So for $599, the A18 Pro 6-core CPU, 5-core GPU, 8 gigabytes of memory, and that's soldered.
14-inch. Oh, 2408 by 1506. Okay, I mean that's.
Yeah, it's like one of the Retina displays too. So it's, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. So it's a like Retina. I feel like they're going to lose money on this initially, especially with like as again the cost of memory goes up. It's only 8 gigs, but still.
This is one that like this is what you roll out in like a Verizon store or something. Like buy an iPhone and you get this. And but you like you sell this for $600 at Verizon, so you're getting them for like an iPhone and this, and then you sell it yourself for like $800.
Yeah,
this seems too cheap.
USB-C, so it's USB 3.2 Gen 2, right here, and then USB 2, which is also a Type C, which I actually like. Obviously, no card slot, which we lost those a long time ago on Apple products. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Both ports support charging. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So if you had a faster device connected to this,
I wonder if it's like one of them supports higher, you know,
yeah,
throughput on that or anything. Old man says the laptop is $500 with a student discount.
Ooh, $500 with the student discount. I just saw some video pop up on my feed that was like how to get an EDU email address so you can get student discounts.
Jeez.
I mean, yeah. And it supports external display for 4K 60 output. And so the Magic Keyboard on the $599, and then there's the Touch ID on the one that's $699. And Wi-Fi 6E has a built-in camera, 1080p. Yeah, like I said, I like it.
Yeah,
0.5 inches.
I think this is a good entry.
Yeah.
Don't expect it to be a MacBook Air or a, you know,
do you think it's better than a Chromebook?
Probably. I mean, the metal body right there is nice enough. Now, will it show up in a bunch of schools? I'm sure some districts will end up with this in there, but they don't have the ecosystem that Google has, right, to go with the Chromebook.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see, like, again, Apple to run a phone plus this deal or something, or like you said, like an AT&T or Verizon do something, or even like a Walmart where they sell like some type of deal where you get some discounts,
especially if you could throw a 5G card in this thing or get a 5G model.
I don't think
no, I know it will be cool though.
Like, it'd be cool. Yeah. Cause like they did that. I know like Walmart for a while had like a buy a phone, get an iPad thing or something. So yeah, I like it. Yeah, like I said, you can pre-order it now. What color would you get? The silver? I like the indigo. Like the
indigo's not bad. Yeah, silver indigo.
I don't know about the citrus though.
I think the silver gets too dirty, mate. Well, actually, I have essentially a silver laptop now that I use, and it's fine. So yeah, silver indigo.
Yeah, I think those are good. But yeah, cool. So yeah, see what happens there, and if this goes well, we could over time as things get cheaper when see one with like a M1 in it or something
That'd be even
eventually.
better. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Because again, they're gonna not have the use for those chips over time. So we'll see how all of that goes. But pretty cool. Like I said, I definitely like it. Kind of surprising, but definitely like it. Now here's something I don't like, and I really don't. I don't want to be going this route, and with like all the memes of like, we're gonna just stream everything because we can't afford our computers, and RAM's so expensive and stuff like that, that I see all over social media. Windows is back with the dumb terminal, and if you don't know what that means you just log in and everything that you do, including your Windows experience, is all done on the cloud. So we have new Windows 365 cloud PCs. Windows 365 was the first device for it was the Windows 365 Link that came out in 2024. There hasn't been much to that. Well, both Asus and Dell have come out with devices for this. The Asus NUC 16 and the Dell Pro Desktop. So these are like small little devices that just give you that login essentially, and a couple, some interface to Windows 365, and everything's done on the cloud. You can see how small these are. So like, just like a little NUC, and it gives you some connectivity. So if you want to transfer files and things like that, but that's all it is. And there's the Dell one, essentially the same thing. These like little kind of small little devices that, again, you're not doing anything on these devices except for having an interface with Windows 365.
Right. Not no thanks.
Yeah. Oh, well, for us, no thanks. But do you think this is going to become more popular? Like, would you see schools doing this?
I mean, maybe, because
I could see businesses doing this. But the biggest thing when it comes to like schools and business is like, what if the data center goes down?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's just you have to factor that into your whole business model of, hey, we're doing everything in the cloud. What happens if the cloud goes down?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see some businesses utilizing this in certain instances. You don't have to worry about like securing a device like a laptop, right? You get a laptop to somebody, and depending on your security posturing and everything like that, you may have files on that machine that if it gets lost or stolen, or that employee quits and doesn't return it, right? If you don't have good data protection, data loss protection, things like that, your data's out and you have no control over it. Whereas with this, that's just connecting you to an environment that you have full control over if you set it up correctly, and has a lot of benefit. So
yeah, not a fan of this. Next, we'll see a gaming version. We'll see
well, I mean, we have that. It's just you're using your PC or your old gaming PC to stream, from NVIDIA or whoever. But yes, we 100% will.
Yeah. Old Man says we're going back to the 70s when people were using dumb terminals. They scoffed at people owning their own PCs because of cost and size. And yeah, people are going to be like, oh yeah, you took all of our memory for your personal computer. We need it for the cloud.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen. I feel like that's what's gonna happen, soon enough. So we'll see what happens with this. Obviously, Brian and I are not a fan. Also, RAM shortage and pricing is the biggest thing. We talked about it with the Neo, and I like the pricing of the MacBook Neo. It is a good price for what it is. But a lot of like those, again, you see those $399, $499 PCs. You also see those $399, $499 laptops a lot, and then you have that like Black Friday deal, which is like $299 for like a laptop. And and because prices were, especially with memory, were like very much kind of just a flat line, you could do those prices and do those deals, and as you could still make money. It's been predicted by 2028 the sub $500 PC is just going to be gone. just gone because you can't sell them for that price because the RAM and SSD prices are just too expensive these days. It says global PC shipments are expected to drop by 10.4% in 2026. And longer PC upgrade cycles, that's definitely expected as well. Yeah.
Well, and it's like,
and I just got like an offer to do a review of a entry level PC. And it's $1,200, which is like pretty good price, I guess, but it's still like, based on, I don't know.
And like we've always been told that like, oh, things get better and faster and we become more efficient with things and that drives down price, right? But that's not the case, right? It's not even because of a whole nother industry that is spinning up and taking away from something that should be able to come down in price or just be such a commodity that it's disappearing because of that. That stinks.
I mean, I think this is a bigger killer to the laptop industry as opposed to the desktop PC. I don't know how you feel about that, but like, again, these laptops that are, $399, $499, they go on sale for,
I just can't imagine using a machine that has that price point anyways, but
I mean, dude, I remember getting a netbook to review. Remember the netbook?
I know, but they were never good.
Yeah, so, they were like, netbook was never good.
Even if you had the top of the line netbook, they were still trash.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, it kind of sucks. Like I said, it's, and again, like you think of like kids, I remember saving up for my first computer back in the day. And like now that entry level is so much higher, right? At least double now. So that kind of sucks for those people.
And you can't even tell people to go, well, just get used instead, right? Like, well, used is going to be a generation or two old, and you're going to pay how much you would used to pay for a new car.
And the thing is too, is that like, if it's a first time person, like they don't know what they're looking at.
No,
you know what I mean? Like if you're in the store, like you know what you're looking at essentially, or like but if you're buying parts or even buying an older pre-built or so, like you don't know what it is half the time. So yeah, not a fan, but that's kind of where I guess we are headed. So yeah, Steam Machine. We've been talking about Steam Machine, hasn't come out yet. And we're getting close to through Q1 here. But Valve has confirmed that it will launch. It will launch, what did they say? First half of 2026.
Well, we're into the third month.
Yeah. So they were on the podcast and they talked about it.
Well, they just softened their commitment to hope to ship in.
Yeah. So we hope to ship in 2026. I don't even know like how you bring this thing out. Because again, if it's like $1,500, who's buying it?
Someone that doesn't have a machine and doesn't want to hassle with it. I mean, there's an audience for it.
It doesn't run Windows.
I know.
So it's strictly a gaming machine.
I know.
Again, like if you look at like I said, this is not gonna be for like I don't know what people were expecting. Like even based on the specs, like say before the RAM shortage, what were we even saying? What were we saying for price before the RAM shortage?
We'd have to go back and look, but I don't think 400 was ever a price point.
For some people, it was because they're like, oh, it's going to compete with like a Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't.
And just to give you an idea, because just in the chat, because like we, say we expected this to be $899, right?
Sure.
Before the RAM shortage, like Old Man in the chat says, my 32 gig RAM kit that was $90 a few years ago is now listed on Amazon for $420.
Right, and it's not like it's a faster speed or anything. It's probably the same exact kit, same speeds, everything. Like,
and that's what like if this does launch, it's not going to be a big launch. You just can't
Yeah, I don't think it can
unless
be.
they're like getting the RAM from who knows, like for the Chinese memory, which again, there's already a lot of brands using it, the YXMT or whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know how you put this out
And make any
at
money or sell many of them.
yeah. Old man says it was speculated at $699 for the base model. So let's just say that doubles, right? That's conservative, I guess.
Yeah.
Or say it a little bit less than doubles, right? So that puts it over $1,000. Who's paying over $1,000 for a Steam machine that again
For a
doesn't?
console.
But it
It's
again,
just a console.
yeah, it's console because it doesn't run Windows. It runs Steam
Right.
OS, which is Linux. So you can't do anything else with it, right? So
Yep.
why would you buy this instead of a Windows machine?
Right, that can double as a standard computer.
Or even like a gaming handheld, a Windows gaming handheld.
There you go.
That can also run Windows, and you can dock, and you can also take it with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cavity Creep in the chat. He said his $220 of 64 gigabytes CL30 is now $1,200. What's going on? Oh man. Yeah, it is. Oh, man. Yeah, and again, like, what have we heard, Ryan? 2028, at least. We've heard some to like 2030 until this.
I don't know. I just there was a story, and we're not covering it, but it has to do with data centers and Oracle and OpenAI not kind of backing out of a deal with
I heard about
Oracle. So maybe that maybe there's some changes, and that's such a volatile market. They're backing out because of like the acceleration. They're not going to be able to even use this data center. The stuff they want to put in it's going to be a year or two old by the time they get it. So
I also saw this.
There'll be enough pain points, to.
I saw this. I forget where I saw it. It might have been on Twitter or X, but it was like the money burn of the AI startups compared to like other startups over time, and like some of the big startups that didn't make money, until they finally became profitable, and like the money burn of like OpenAI is insane, like the insane amount of money that they've burned, and they're not profitable yet. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be one of those things.
Somebody needs to give me money, and I will just not make a profit on it. But
yeah, yeah. So, well, like I said, we'll see with the Steam machine. I was like so hopeful for the Steam machine. I like Steam hardware. I think it's cool. And I was hoping for like an affordable way to get more people into PC gaming. So yeah, we'll like I said, we'll keep you guys updated on that one. But talking about something that like brings back the memories. Did you have an Antec 900?
Yes. In fact,
the original. Let me see if I have pictures of the original.
I have. Well, let me.
Old.
Wait, that's not the one I had. I'm gonna find out which one I had.
Well, here's one. You can buy it on eBay for $229. That's some of the older ones. Here's the one with the big fan in the back. Oh, shout out to Tech Power Up, who has this on their site.
So I had that. I reviewed that, the 900 too.
Yeah.
I reviewed that for Bjorn 3D back in the day.
Here's another one.
And then I had like a P918 or a P something that had a door on the front. And I just
1200. I remember the 1200. That thing was massive.
Or maybe I had the 12. I had the 1200 because it had 3 120 fans in the front, and they each had their own like fan controller.
Yeah.
With a little dial. Yeah, I either had the 902 or I had the 1200. I don't remember. It was one of those. And I just got rid of it at a garage sale like 3 years ago.
So people like don't understand how like this was the case. The Antec 900 was like the case that everybody had. Everybody had this case.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most popular cases at its time period when it came out. It just was. Antec is now reviving it. So, and this story also makes it like, the Antec 900 kind of makes sense for this, but like their whole thing is like, we revived the Antec 900 for AI and workstations, and then like gaming's at the end. Like, oh, you can also
and gaming,
Yeah. I hope that's not the way that we're going, but this is what it looks like. It looks pretty beefy and like big.
It's big.
Yeah. Supports not only EATX, but the SSI CEB, SSI EEB, stuff for Threadripper, stuff for high-end desktop, all of that. Supports a 420 millimeter radiator in the front, multiple graphics cards, long graphics cards. It's very clean.
It is. I like the look of it.
Very, very clean for Antec. Sleek. Definitely like it. I mean, lots of space, as you can see.
Tons of cooling. Yeah.
Yeah. Tons of cooling. Like I said, you could do a 420 in the front.
Yeah. I like this. I mean, the thing that was cool about that original like 900 and 1200 was right behind those fans were your drive cages, and they, if I'm not mistaken, had like rubber grommets to like reduce vibration, but they were like right in line with the fan, so you get direct cooling on those drives. Obviously 3.5-inch drives aren't the main feature of our builds anymore, so they kind of tuck them at the bottom there.
Yes, you have four 3.5-inch bays right here. You have two 2.5-inch trays here, and then there's two more on the other side. There's two more right here. So lots of storage if you want to do a storage heavy build or something like that. I like this thing. $250 or like 270. Well, I don't know the conversion. 289, 249, like $250, I guess. Which I think feels fine. Yeah, 9 hard drive bays, aluminum and steel. So yeah, I think the at least the front panel and top panel are probably aluminum. Looks like. Or maybe the frame is too. Looks nice though. I like it. Yeah. I really, really like this thing. Just brings back those old memories too. So yeah, definitely like it. Definitely a fan. I hope we're not going the way of, this awesome new gaming, this awesome new case, but we've made it for AI and workstation, and then you can use it for gaming too.
You could, we guess you could use it for
gaming. This next one is definitely for gaming. This next one is for gaming. I think this is super cool. So colorful, they make some really awesome graphics cards. Like their iGame series is kind of iconic, and it has like the screen, the pop-off screen, and it's really cool. What if Colorful made a custom case for those cards that was like a small, it was just like the perfect case, mini ITX case for those big ass cards?
Yeah.
What if they did that?
Well, I think they did.
Yeah, they did.
It looks,
this is awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
So this is the iGame Lab Vulcan Armor, and it's a mini ITX case for their RTX 50 series GPUs. And as you can see, the GPU fits in there perfectly because this case is designed for those specific GPUs. Yep. And the screen, because the GPUs like this, the actual screen, that the pop-off screen that comes on the GPU can be moved, and we have a picture of it. There's a placement for it on the chassis itself with the Pogo connections, so it still works and everything like that. And if you look at like it, 240 millimeter radiator for your mini ITX, your graphics cards on the other side, perfect spacing, SFX power supply, everything kind of goes together. Somebody in our comments on Twitter was like, it's a like a boombox.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It's one of those cases where you're like, you would expect to see this on one of our Case Mod Friday articles, right? Somebody's made this to fit around it, and it looks like a prop. Again, I'm going to go back to like a movie prop. Like this looks like some sort of futuristic space health kit or something. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I really like this. This is cool. Yeah, super, super cool.
Do we have pricing on this thing? I don't think there's pricing. Let's see. Colorful website. Take forever to load. Yeah, no pricing yet. But I like it. I think it's cool.
That's not how you mount the radiator in colorful Vulcan case. 5-year-old mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I said, pretty cool. You know, it said, hello guys, what time is it there? Well, I'm on the west coast of the United States. It is 6:56 p.m. What time is it there, Ryan?
8:56.
8:56 on Ryan's side. So yes, 2:55 a.m. So where are you? Okay, well the page is no longer there, so I can't tell you. But yeah, I think this is super cool, and I love when, like, again, to get something like this that would fit the GPU perfectly, you won't find, because a company's not going to make a case that is just made for a specific size GPU for the most part.
At first, I thought this was just like an external GPU enclosure like we've seen before, but nope, it's a full-blown system.
Yeah, so pretty cool. Shout out to Colorful for this one. This is definitely really cool. Saw this the other day, or was it last week? I saw this.
Maybe.
So like Amazon has those like pallets that you can buy.
Return pallets, yeah.
Return pallet. There's like maybe a couple photos of it, and then you buy it, and you get it. Like, you buy it like per pound or some. I don't know how that works. There's a bunch of websites that do it. I don't know if you can do it directly through Amazon. Like, I don't know how that works. There's like some YouTube channels where people do it. It's pretty interesting if you've ever watched this.
It can be, yeah.
Well, somebody found $10,000 of DDR5 in an Amazon return pallet. I believe they paid $100 for the return pallet. And this is 40 sticks of Kingston DDR5 Fury Beast 16 gig, which are currently retailing for about $250 each. So just one of them.
More than doubled their.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So this is what they found in the return pallet, was a box filled with DDR5.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it works, right? I wonder if those sticks were, each one's opened, or if it was just like a mistake and so they returned it and didn't.
Yeah, or maybe somebody was doing like a bunch of builds and then they like decided to go, oh, I'm going to get Corsair instead, or something, or Crucial, or whatever it was at the time. It's DDR5 5600. Damn. I mean, that's a nice little,
Keep a couple and get rid of the rest.
Yeah, I would be selling these for sure.
If you're, if that's even your thing. Like if you're not a computer person, right? But you just ended up with this, get rid of all of them.
Yeah.
We assume just because it's, cool to us that
they're gonna
use it, right?
Or this is non-RGB memory, so like you sell a couple and then buy like a nicer RGB kit if you wanted or something.
But this could just be a person that doesn't give a crap about computers and building. And then it's just straight profit. Like for us, I'd be like, keep like 4 of these for my main rig, and then I'll beef up, this other one, and hook a buddy up with another kit, and then sell the rest,
Yeah, pretty cool though. Again, $100, and again, don't take our advice on this, because probably I don't know how any of those, like I've seen some videos, but again, they're like they're like
YouTube total videos. Junk. It's just trash.
Yeah. So it's like $100 return pallet. You might not even make that back. I don't know. Yeah. I'd always kind of wanted to. Would you ever do that? Like just be like, oh, $100, like I'll see what's on this pallet.
You're asking the person. I mean, it's not a lot, but I've bought 2 storage units at auction before. So yes, I am the person that would do this, but I don't do these. Like
we should pay for Ryan to get a return pallet of computer parts and see what's in it. That'd be a fun video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And you have the space to get a pallet delivered.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like this is the next ThinkComputers video right here.
Oh, it could be like, can we build a computer or like a gaming?
We're gonna look into this. We're gonna look into this. That could be
fun.
Yeah, I actually like this. I like this idea. We're gonna look into this and see how, even if it's an electronics return pallet, we could figure something out. Let's keep this in the thing here, because I like this idea.
All right, edit this out so nobody.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that, but pretty cool. Some gaming news. One, Valve is getting sued by the state of New York over loot boxes, which they say is gambling, which it can be.
Yeah.
My biggest thing with like these, like again, the state of New York, right? Like, shouldn't they like be solving crime?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably some bigger issues, right? But at the same time, it's so addictive, and you see how much money people spend on this stuff.
But like, so is like,
Oh, yeah, I'm
like,
not disagreeing.
like vaping and like other
Absolutely.
addictions and things like that. And I always feel with these like gaming stories, like this, it's just like,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
you said it best, addiction. Like it's a form of addiction, or
and
can be.
again, like Counter-Strike is not the only game that has loot boxes, right?
Well, they're suing Valve. Is it just related to Counter-Strike, or is it because so they
yeah. Counter-Strike 2, Team Fortress 2, Dota 2. And the Valve profits billions by enabling this practice.
And maybe it's because it's targeted towards kids, or could be said that it's targeted towards them. Although these titles are probably rated M for mature, so technically they shouldn't be playing the games. They're breaking the EULA of the game.
Yeah, and it's not like Valve is running these markets where you can buy this stuff. They don't run the third-party markets where you can buy the skins. And like I said, Old Man says the New York government just wants their cut in taxes. Yeah, like I said, I'm never a fan of these unless there's like real, like there are certain games that are like very messed up and like could, you could see government going after certain games because they're like very messed up games. But for the most part, like this gambling stuff or whatever, like I just feel like there's bigger fish to fry in the state of New York especially.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty yeah, not a fan. Not a fan at all. So bless you.
Thank you.
And the last thing, so you had consoles back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was like your last console that you had?
Xbox One.
Okay, so like the original Xbox, right?
Nope. No, the Xbox One.
Oh, okay, the Xbox One. So like Xbox, when you think of Xbox, what is the title you think of? There's probably
Halo.
Yeah, Halo, right?
Halo and Forza, maybe, right?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. And like Gears of War. So those are the big exclude. Again, they were exclusive. Now that like Microsoft Windows Gaming, like you can get the titles on whatever. Sure. But at the time, you bought like, especially like Xbox, like you bought an Xbox for Halo. Yep. You bought a PlayStation, especially like OG PlayStation, for like Crash Bandicoot and like
Gran Turismo,
Metal Gear Solid, like those were the console exclusives. And because of the popularity of PC gaming, while those games might have initially come out on a PlayStation 5 or what is the latest one is Xbox
Series X, I think.
Yeah, whatever. The latest Xbox, especially Xbox, because again, Microsoft owns Windows and they want people on whatever. But essentially, you can get the Gears of War, you can get the Halos. They're all going to come to PC. On the Sony side, it was the same thing. Stuff that came out on PlayStation essentially gets ported over to PC because of its popularity, right? It looks like Sony may go back to exclusives, which I'm actually a fan of, to be honest. Like I said, the whole reason you bought certain consoles, especially back in the day, were the exclusives. You wanted that game. That game was hyped so hardcore, and it was the reason you bought the console. It was. And I feel like I just feel like those games are made better. I don't know about like recent games, but I feel like those exclusives were so good and were so just well-made games that maybe this switch back will bring back some of that really well-made game, really well-made storyline, things like that. But on top of that, I also think that the PC ports have been bad. Like over the years, like the PC port was like horrible.
I'm not a fan of any ports usually, but
and like all of the issues with like, again, if you're making a games for a specific console, you're making it for that specific hardware. Maybe with Xbox, there's like two different variations, or like, you had a game that's coming out for both the newer PlayStation, the older, whatever. But like you're making it for that specific set of hardware. So it's fully optimized for that specific set of hardware. When you port it over to PC, there's all kinds of issues. There's obviously issues with like NVIDIA graphics card versus AMD graphics card. And now Intel, like there's just a lot more issues. It causes a lot more issues for the developer as well. And all of that. So I think having console exclusives is a good thing.
Okay.
And the whole reason, of course, for this is to boost sales of the console, right? That's the whole idea.
You get that title that nobody else has. The only way to play it is on our latest console.
Yeah. And Old Man said he had an Xbox Series X, but he sold it because everything he wanted to play was on PC. Yep. You know what I mean? So that's the same thing. It's like, well, if I know it might be exclusive for like 6 months on the console, but it's going to come to PC. So like, there's no point in spending the money for the console. I can just wait a little bit. So like I said, I actually hope to see this happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as big of a fan.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. This is just this is not official, but it's been reported that that's kind of what they're thinking about doing. So we'll see what happens with that.
I get it though. Sorry, I maybe just think of like back further to like previous. Like if you wanted to play Mario, you got to have Nintendo. If you want to play Sonic, you got to have Sega, right? Like, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But that is our news for the week. Coming up next week, we have two interesting products. So I'll be taking a look at a case. This one's from MSI. This is their Mag Pano 120R PZ. Features a very big curved panel. Like this curved panel is huge. Comes with 7 included fans too, which is a lot. All pre-wired to a controller. I'll be talking about it. But yeah, it is a big case, or not like crazy big, but it's a bigger case, has that great curved panel, and it's less expensive than the original. I forget what the one I did the build in, but that thing was like a $500 case. This is half the price. So we'll have that for you. And then Ryan's taking a look at the Trikes stage, which got to see at both Computex and then at CES earlier this year as well. Finally came out, and this is kind of hard to tell in the photo. Can we that's also not a you can't tell because it's like, but this is actually like you can put something here. So we'll be interested to see what Ryan puts on the little stage as a little figurine. But it just makes, that's the one thing I really like about Trikes is like AIOs are like, you get the screen, you can have a curved screen. Like, what are they going to do that's different? So this is a little bit different. Interested to see the performance as well. I know from the prototype, they upgraded the fans, so we'll see if they're any better. But Ryan,
previous two, they did well. The previous two Trikes coolers that we looked at. So
yeah, so you got the 360, right?
Hmm?
Yeah, so here's the 360. So we'll see that for next week as well. And then our question of the week, and we talked about, you missed it, Ryan, but NVIDIA's putting out the
3060.
They're putting out the 3060 again. They're making a 5050 with 9 gigabytes of VRAM. Again, like cost, everybody in the chat, Old Man and Cavity Creep were talking about how much their RAM cost compared to when they bought it. Steam Machine, who knows if it's coming out because of cost. Like, what's the positive outlook on the PC industry? Is there a positive outlook right now?
Man, I can't come up with one lately, other than that story about that isn't directly related to PCs, but in a maybe a little bit, right? That OpenAI pulling out of that Oracle build, right? Maybe you start to see that in other places where the back end of supporting an AI infrastructure and the demand for it can't meet up. So maybe there'll be some pullback, and maybe that slows down the
Demand.
gobbling up of this hardware, and maybe we can get some better pricing. Outside of that, I mean, there's not a lot to look forward to hardware wise right now, in my opinion.
Do you
The
think?
nice thing is like cases aren't more expensive and peripherals aren't more expensive. So um, that's a plus, I guess. Not every single component is more
Well,
expensive.
here's the thing. So if you think about that,
Yeah,
right? Cases are going to remain the same price unless prices of
metal, right?
yeah, metal or whatever. But like, okay, so all these other things remain the same price, and the do because people again our upgrade cycles are getting longer, right? Because we can't afford to buy a new computer every couple years, because of the
Sure.
cost of RAM and SSDs. Do brands become more innovative when it comes to those products and put out better products so people are actually buying, have
Paying
a
higher, yeah,
reason to buy them?
maybe. I mean, we've seen so many cases come out with displays integrated or the ability to do it, and a lot of neat features with like Haven and um, uh, oh my gosh, I can't think of the brand off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a
Inwin?
potential for sure. No, who's my cooler? Oh my gosh, they make the
Sorry.
keyboard. No,
Oh, height.
height. Thank you. Um, yeah, so maybe we see something like that. Unique designs and features.
I feel like that could be a saving grace of PC industry right now. But I was also thinking too, one good thing is like because people are stuck without upgrading and their hardware is older, maybe things do get more efficient as far as like, better coded apps or better coded things or whatever.
I don't know. Maybe. I
Yeah.
kind of
And
doubt it
I,
though.
I also don't think because they'll just push everything to the cloud, let
Yeah.
the cloud
Yeah.
do the thing.
Well, the
So
cloud can handle that. Yeah. Why do we need to be more efficient? We can just throw this hardware at it.
yeah, old man in the chat says there was an article about manufacturers going out of business because the
Oh
supply
yeah.
price increases. Yeah, that's the thing is like it's going to be an interesting next couple of years in the PC industry. We might see some brands that we've known for years just go out of business, right?
Yep.
And again, we've already seen brands who have uh, who had a consumer footprint just go away. Crucial was one of them,
Yeah.
obviously. And we might see more of that because again, and that's the biggest fear with Nvidia, right? We've talked about it for years. Is like as gamers, sometimes we feel like we're getting less and less and less because like all of their money and their output, even their output is going towards AI because that's where the money's at, right?
Yep. Yep.
So we'll see what, like I said, it's going to be an interesting next couple of years for sure. So what,
Yeah. We
is
used
there
to have the
anything?
GTX. Now we got the RTX, and maybe we'll get like the ETX, where it's like uh, or a VTX. I'm sorry, like a virtual graphics card. They don't even like release it. Like here's a picture of what it might look like.
Here's a picture of what it looks like in the rack
In the data center.
that you
Oh, that
pay.
one's not yours,
Yeah.
but
You
you pay to
pay
rent access
to
to.
rent access to. Yeah. That's what everybody, that's what I see those memes all the time. When
And we
scrolling
see
through.
you got a speeding ticket, so you don't have access to your GPU right now
Yeah. Your
because
social
your
credit
social credit
score.
score is not
Yeah.
allowing you to play these games.
Yeah. And like I said, you're harboring DDR5. We must find it.
Harboring DDR5.
That meme is hilarious. I've seen that a
I
bunch of
haven't
times.
seen
So
that.
yeah. Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah, but like then the meme is like, oh, I bought it before the shortage in 2025. So yeah, but in any case, yeah, it's like I said, we'll see. The next couple of years are gonna be pretty interesting, but of course we're gonna be here covering it all for you guys. So yeah. But anything else tech related or anything like that?
no, I got a stack of AIOs that showed up, and so just gonna be working through those. I got the the Trike's cooler, and then 3 others that just showed up, I think. Yeah.
Somebody said
one from ASRock and a couple from VTX. Maybe the reality. It might.
That like maybe like a year ago or
GeForce VTX. Yeah.
Like you didn't think that might be a possibility of like, but it actually might. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, we've left. We are no longer selling GPUs. You can now rent the GPU completely. We're not putting out any more GPUs.
Nope.
I don't think that would happen, but you could see it happening. That's the thing. Like you don't think it's gonna happen, but like you can see it happening.
It is not out of the realm.
Yeah. I saw a movie. It's on Netflix. It's called War Machine. It was pretty interesting. Okay. It's sort of like, I thought it was going to be a war movie because it's called War Machine, and it kind of is, but it's like a sci-fi movie. It's actually pretty good.
From 2026 or 2017?
2026.
Okay.
Yeah, just so it was good. I liked it. So if you want to see sort of like a sci-fi type of movie, it's actually pretty good. Okay. That's the only other tech thing. Like I said, I have a ton of reviews to get done. We're working on a ton of stuff. So obviously just stay tuned, check out the website. Remember, we have that contest going on. And of course, just follow us on social media. That's where everything goes, is up on social media. And yeah, guys, I have to make dinner, but are we gaming, or do you want to game? Or
yeah, I can game.
So Ryan will be over on Twitch then. So if you want to hang out with him for a little bit, I'm going to make dinner. But that's twitch.tv/ThinkComputers. He'll be over there. I will be joining him after I make some dinner, and we will see everybody next week.